Hello, this is Gerald Johan van Waas. In this video I will have a slightly different approach as before because most of the videos that I have published are about the understanding of letters and letter combinations from a rather rational point of view and trying to figure out how this whole system works. But without sensitivity for what is going on or understanding how it is sensed by everybody from the letters alone, it can miss something, because then you can hardly learn it a little bit, and it's hard to adapt also to this new system without the real foundations of sensing each letter separately, because it hasn't made consciously. And so I will do that in this video. I will read you an orientation on one of the words that I did before. I will use the word mist, but here I will sense it. I will see how it is sensed, how each letter is as a kind of sensitivity, and trying to find a balance, and a complete picture of this balance is the description of this word. And what do I need then? So then you need, of course, a little bit of a different theory, and this theory is found in some of the previous books I did before as well. It's the Fool's Tarot and then the Changeling of Seasons are about some aspects of actually preparation. These books, I don't consider them as a rational study, but more as an experience. So you have to read it and see them, how they are experienced, and of course you can read in between the lines the whole rationality, the rationale behind it. But there is a foundation in it as well. But in a way you can prepare yourself only very well if you also try to sense at the same time, make it more practical at the same time, try to adapt it in a certain way, and make a balance between everything that you sense and think. There has to be a balance there. In a way, we overestimate the rational way of approach. In a way, we people aren't really so rational as we think, and the rationality isn't so well organized as we prefer it to be. And how does that come? Because the rational foundation is just one of the foundations to sense, and the way how we organize it, for this organization, for making decisions, we need actually 4 sensory organs of perception. These 4 sensory organs of perception are also described in the second arcana of the tarot, where you have this vision on how every emotion, for instance, has the same kind of story. It starts to expect a lot of things, and then it's getting disappointed because it doesn't get everything what it expects. And there's a whole set of rules there to learn to work with that. But every sensory organ is incomplete to see the world. It's only when it starts to cooperate better that we can fill it in. We can fill in the gaps, actually. So there is always a part that we rationally understand. There's also only one part which we instinctively sense. This instinct is also in movement and in all the things that are related with danger, and also power in a way. Power to get yourself into an environment. So the emotional part is sensed as well, and is also an incomplete picture it always gives about reality. And the practical part, which is the most practical, of course, of that all. Now, because it's incomplete, we have to learn to make it complete, so we can have a random life where everything is then finding a balance, and we're going out of balance and back in balance, and okay, that's one way to learn it. That's in the tarot. It was also described, and that it is like the first arcana. It's just the random 22 situations that you have there, and you meet them randomly as well. Or you learn these separate organs to deal with the structure and the patterns that are there all the time in the 10 plus 4 distinctions that you can have. They are described in the tarot. But what more important is, you have to learn to understand what you really understand. That's so what you see. So what you see and what there is, what you're sure about, and then the things that you don't see. These are in the Indian methods of organization of how your sensory organs work. There are much more sensory organs. There are 4 plus 1. If you compare it with that, there are 4 plus 1 plus 1, and these 2 distinctions actually are in a degree of yes, I know it, and no, I don't know it. It's between there are 2 approaches. You go to the truth and you go to the intuition, the thing that you don't know. How does intuition actually works? If we just fill it in randomly, because we don't accept the sensory organ of the distinction of what is true and what is not true, we fill it in with fantasy. So that's also, there's a whole process to learn how to let them work together. And this working together is very much described in the Fool's Tarot as the 3rd arcana, where you learn to make them work together. Why do I tell this in this video about language? Now, language is one of the ways how it is organized, that the sensory organs are filling into each other, and the thing that you don't know and the thing that you know. If you really do that with respect and know what you know and you don't know, and have a part that you sense, a part that you have instinctively, a part that you make practical, if you find a good balance there, I'm not going to go deeper into it, you have a kind of intelligence, because once it works emotionally, once it works instinctively, once it works rationally a little bit better, and because you know the same situation from all your sensory organs, you find the balance and you find the expression and find what is actually meant for it. Now, how does that cope with how language works? This cooperation is the same kind of cooperation in letters, because also every letter is a part of the story. Some of it you sense a bit more emotionally, another part you sense a bit more rationally, another part you sense you want to make it more practical. Some of it you know, you see immediately, the other things you don't see, you don't know. This balance between this knowing, not knowing, pointing out a rational place, finding the spaces, knowing how to react and to act, it's very comparable. So the cooperation of the mind to find the balance also between what we know and don't know is also part of the language. And also language points us into the right direction to figure out the parts that we don't know and see how they work together and still make up an orientation. And I will give you an example of how this orientation works compared to these 4 sensory organs. So the rationale, of course, it tries to make a starting point, use a starting point. It uses this starting point as the rationale, as an experiment in the cave of Plato, let's say. It puts a reflection in the back of your mind, and you say, okay, let's fantasize already, or experiment a little bit, that with this image, can I already understand this? So I have an image in my mind that I try to figure out. It's not real yet, but I will try to make a focus onto what I understand already. So I make it a form. I have it's as physical as can be. It's as much and place and space as it can be. It's my objective, and I want to have it as objective as possible. My starting point of reference. That's the rational approach. That's one of the approaches that you can also have with letters. And which letter fits with that mostly? Of course, the first region of my scheme is about trying to find a foundation, a basis to see how the physical objects develop and how I can start from points in space. So, of course, the letters, the first three letters are A, T, and K, all in the number 1. But the T in the middle is the neutral point, and that's exactly the rational point I need to have. So, in my experiment of the mind that I want to have a rational point of reference that I can work with, the T is that rational point of distinction. It's that neutral point where I have a starting point and so on. The A and the K, the A is a bit less than 1. The K is a little bit more than 1. So in A, I'm also trying to learn to find my distinction. And with K, I lose my distinction a little bit. So it is in the danger zone again. So A and K are not perfectly connected to the rationale, although I use it rationale. The T is really a very good example of, yes, I will use my rationale to try to find the placement in space. So that's useful. The emotional parts, of course, they come also from the something physical, mainly my body. I sense it in my body. It's emotional, and it's spreading. What kind of letter fits with that position perfectly? It's the M. So it's the M, which is broadening. Is broadening from something physical. I also sense it. And why is it important that I don't use it irrational in this case? Because it also works in that way. In your body and mind, this works like it attracts and enlarges your senses, your bodily senses, and tries to sense what is there in the environment. What does that do? In the environment, it tries to find its reflections in the world. So much so that you have the right frame, and you know how far you can go with sensing and what you reach in this region or not. So in that way, the letters aren't just rational pinpoints. They also have a communication field, and there's a way to communicate, and that's how we sense it, and that's we are also open to that part, that sensitive part where it is most strong, at the emotional part. Mama is there, that's the M there. Man is there, who tries to give an order there. There are other words with M there as well, but they use and are able to use these emotions also to sense a little bit like, okay, how far can I reach this, and so on. Even though they can be about other things, about physical things and so on, it works a little bit like this emotion. They flow towards it and tries to find it's like there, it tries to find the space in which it works and in which you have this balance. Even the M from water, it tries to find its spots, and in between you have all these vibrations. These vibrations, let's say, are part of a sensitivity that is underlying in the M. The next part is the instinctive part. Instinctive part is your, it's like the whole space around it. We react to the space around us via an instinctive behavior. This instinctive behavior let us behave, let us move, let us also it's often in the tarot. It's often used also as a power kit. So that it's also like people who want power. They try to sense what's in the environment, the dangers, what is there. That's that instinctive part. You try to have a distinction there. And what you need also there is, of course, your distinction. What do I see? What do I don't see? And there are two letters that fit with these combined categories very well. You have the K, the distinction of the danger zone. So that's what you have. That's what I see. So that's what you can see. Pay attention, because there are things that you have to notice, that there is this danger zone. What we can only sense via the instinctive way is the letter S, and that's what you don't see. But we still have the instinct here, the instinctive part, and that will compensate for the lack that we can't see it. With the K we can try to see it, with the S we hardly can see it or cannot see it, so we can only sense it instinctively. And the sensory organ of the instinct is used in communication in letters and is also working that way. Last category is the practical part. The practical part, it's like the frame, and in this frame, you know, within this frame it works practical, everything works well together, and every aspect works together. That's the last sensory organ. So how do I see mist as seen from the sensory organs? Of course I will start with M, where I start to try to sense it. I try to sense it, so it's about a physicality. I try to sense it like I want to grasp it physically. And this physicality, you try to find, of course, a response, and you try to sense what is going on. How does it work? Until where does it work? In the mist, that's your starting point. You try to sense, okay, what is there? How far can I reach with my sensitivity there? That's why the M is the first letter. The E, the second letter, is this knowing what you see, trying to distinct rationally as well, but it is instinctively in a way as well. You try to find your point that you can do something with it, and so you try to find a starting point for the rationale, so that you can work with it. So how do I see that on the M? So me, and on the person as well. So you have this me focuses a starting point in what I sense. That's also why me is also about what a person personally senses. That's the me. Me is, of course, also it also refers to the Japanese word, which is the I, which is also perfectly fitting. So this me tries to sense this form isn't absolutely necessary, but it tries to sense there in these vibrations. So how and where does it work, and where can I penetrate into? The S is, as I have told you already, the S is certainly in this form of with sharp edges and so on. It's in the zone where I don't know what it is, don't see it, but they are the vibrations. And how do I sense the vibrations instinctively? What do I focus upon it in the instinctive way to approach it. You go to where most movement is, and you deal with it. That's so you know where the danger zone is, or what you. In a way, it is also dealing with. This is the part that I don't know, so be careful. So that's the part that I don't know how it behaves, so I'm careful. Combined with mist, so then I will be able to show you how I sense via me to S and T via the next drawing. So I have these vibrations which are also instinctively sensing from how far I can go, and I will try in the end to have a rational point of distinction. This rational point of distinction is T, and this T is on the edge of where I can see it and where I cannot see it. This is just an expression, but I think that the image is very well expressing what mist, or how we experience mist from our experiences, and how we sense the world with the word mist. So basically, the word mist says we try to sense something with M, try to make a distinction in E, and we have an instinctive way of trying to find the borders also of the environment. We try to find where do we have something to grasp, but the only thing we have are hardly to grasp fluctuation of conditions as you have them in S, and the attention goes really to that point. The final goal is that you can find a rational point of a starting point of distinction, where you know, okay, here I have something that I can see. I can see from here in all these fluctuations. Here I can start to see something. That's how I can express mist. A little bit a few deeper layers of sensitivity, or sorts of a sensitivity as well, but in a way they are much more than describing what I try to see and express with this word mist. Anyhow, I hope this was a contribution that took you a little bit closer to how the letters themselves are not just rational orientations, but they're also about sensing. You try to sense something, and at some point it also receives a reaction, action and reaction. But then we are already on a different, and sometimes even more spiritual plane if I start to talk about these things. But first you have to sense, of course, where we're going with each letter in the combination of letters. Where are we going? Here we are going with mist to try to make a distinction that I try to sense, but also try to have a conclusion at the end that I find my point in space for where I can start from. Basically, that's what you do with mist. You try to find your vision point until you can sharpen it a little bit and see something in the mist. So I hope you also can start to find something in the mist of what this might have brought to you. Thanks for watching. You can see the short URL with previous recordings, and you can subscribe to the YouTube channel if you like. Thanks again. Bye.